And many of you sitting out there were parts of groups that came to our house from time to time. And we all dubbed this dog, his name was Sport. We dubbed him Sport the Wonder Dog because he was amazing. I mean, he would just do anything that we asked him to. God had given me just a reasonable ability to train dogs. And so I spent a lot of time training him to do things. And we could get him to do all types of things. I used to throw him up on top of the house whenever we'd go off somewhere. And he'd stay up there and look around with the neighbors and watching everything. And, he'd jump off. He'd just do anything we asked him to. And he was a nice and a kind dog. Well, not this particular hurricane that we just were in, but another hurricane passed. We went to evacuate at one point. We were going to evacuate a little early for some reason. We just wanted to go ahead and get out of town. And so we had a trailer, and we filled up our van, and we loaded up our trailer with stuff. And it was my daughter's responsibility, in case you're watching this morning. I think they go to Max Lucado's church now. They're probably there. No, you went early this morning. Maybe you're watching now. My son's probably watching from California. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Y'all pray for my son. He's working so much, and he was almost deployed to Iraq last week, and he was told he's going to get deployed. But y'all just pray for him. He's working so much. One of the greatest frustrations of his moment is that he cannot attend the church that he's committed to. It's about 45 minutes away, and he's on call on weekends, and he cannot be farther than 30 minutes away. And because of the integrity of his heart, he's nailed himself down. That's the way he is, and it's difficult. We're praying for you, son. Bless you, son. Mom and I talked this morning about a way that maybe you could start a church in your own home. We'll talk to you next week. Okay? But anyway, it was my daughter's responsibility to put the dog Sport. We didn't have room for him inside, and it had been raining, but to put him in his kennel and to tie the kennel onto the trailer. She missed a concept somehow. Because as we were going down the road, we left Mid-County, and we were going down the road, and we were headed on 69, and we were almost to where that McDonald's is. We went over a little hump, and we didn't notice much. I had the crew set on 65, and we were just going along, everything fine. And all of a sudden, a car pulled up beside us, and they were beating on the window, going, and they were just really, and people were honking, and we were going, what? I looked in my rearview mirror, I couldn't see anything. What? They were, So I slowed down finally, after, and pulled over. And when I pulled over, I got out and I looked back. And my daughter had failed to do one important aspect of what I told her to do. I told her to tie the kennel onto the trailer. She just tied it to the trailer. And when we went over that hump, it hopped off, but it was tied to the trailer, so I was pulling that thing down the road at 65, that one of those little plastic kennels. And so anyway, when I went back there and saw how that was, the dog was nowhere to be found, and there were two cars had stopped behind us back there. And one lady, when I walked by her car, she was going, he's dead, oh, you should have seen it, oh. And a man got out of the pickup, and I thought she was going to attack me, but she couldn't compose herself. And so a man got out of the pickup that was behind her and ran at me. He said, no, he's okay. He said, man, you should have seen him. He said, back about 2 miles, you went over one of those overpasses, and that thing hopped up off of there. He said, he said he was doing everything he could to keep himself in that box. He said, man, he goes, woo. He said, but finally he lost it. He come out of that box. He said, fur flew. He rolled and rolled. He said, but I saw him go off down through yonder and out through the running. So I said, oh, okay. That woman was still going, oh, yeah. She was still there when I left, so I got the kennel and I put it back on and tied it on the trailer, and then we went looking for sport, like we had time to do this, and so we're looking all through the neighborhoods, and whistling, and finally I see him, and he's got about 6 or 7, maybe 8 dogs chasing him, and they're catching him, and he's getting away from them and running, and they're catching him, and he's getting away from them and running, and so I whistled, and one of the things I train him to do is when I whistle, you come. And so he took off coming toward the whistle. And I told Brenda, I said, now, Brenda, these are dogs chasing him. Now, when he gets here, slide the man door open, let him in, jump in, slide it back, okay? Do not get out. Well, when he got there, guess what happened? She slings the door up and goes, Sport! Sport! And jumps out, bends down, and we're going, So then I'm kicking dogs, you know. And so anyway, we finally get Sport in, and we pull up, and we stop up there real close to where that McDonald's is in the parking lot. We get out, and we try our best to, you know, to console him. He has bites. He has puncture holes all over him. He's skinned. The inside of his lips are skinned, and he's just skinned all over. And it was really sad, very, very, very sad. And it's kind of raining, and it's real sad. And but you know, I put that thing. I repositioned the box instead of behind the trailer. I put it up at the front of the trailer to the side, and I made sure it was secure. And then I said, "Get in the box." He looks at me and goes, "Mm-mm." I said, "Sport, get in the box. We got to go." You know, and I've got a wife and two kids saying, "No, don't put him on." He's bleeding. You know, I mean, we're full in the van. I mean, he smells bad. I mean, everything. I said, "Get in the box." Brenda and the children, thinking I'm a tyrant, they're just being very, very mean to me about this time. And so finally I turned to Sport and I said, "Hadn't you had enough, boy? Now get in the box." Because we were about to have a different discussion now. Because, you know, just because you've been through a bad time don't mean you don't have to obey. He looked up at me and he hopped in the box. I shut, you know, I had him around with some wind to blow him because he stunk, and I had him around frontwards, and I locked that little thing, and we went on and drove, and we got to Marshall, Texas before we stopped. We were going further, but we stopped at Marshall. And as it was, it had been raining and a lot of log trucks up and down through Highway 69, a lot of mud on the road and everything. It just so happened that I had him positioned right behind our tire. And when we stopped in Marshall and opened up that box, oh, you should have seen him. I felt so bad. He was doing this. He did that for about a month afterwards. Every time we say box, he'd go. So we took him out and found a water hose and hosed him off. I like to never got him in that box the third time, because we still had another 60 or 70 miles to go. And I said, "Back in the box, boy." And I put it somewhere where, you know, where he wouldn't get hurt this time, I hoped. And you know, same thing. Just because you've been through 2 bad times, it still doesn't mean that you have become God and that you get to decide now because I've had 2 bad times. Sometimes following your leader and following your master can mean that you just have to do what they say do. Now, I know that many of you are thinking exactly what my wife thinks. "Yeah, Ronnie, but you're not God." To Sport, I was.